For 100 years, the Greater Arvada Chamber of Commerce has been the driving force behind our thriving business community. Since 1925, we've united businesses, community leaders, and change makers to create a resilient, well-connected economy in the Arvada area. From bold workforce initiatives to award-winning advocacy and leadership programs, our mission has always been clear: to drive progress and build a stronger community for all. Now, as we celebrate a century of impact, we're not just looking back, we're forging ahead. Join us in shaping the next 100 years.
Yeah, love the energy. Good morning, everyone. How is everyone today? Woohoo! For those of you I haven't met, my name is Cami Welch. I'm the president and CEO here at the Arvada Chamber, and welcome to our 2026 City Council Election Forum. This is such an important conversation for all of us in this community, and we're grateful you were able to join us today. As we like to do at the start of these things, I'd like to kick us off by recognizing the many elected officials and dignitaries who have joined us today and taken time out of their busy schedules. So we're going to hoot and holler because we want energy up today. So for each one, I'm going to allow you to clap, which is very generous of me. Starting with Arvada Mayor Lauren Simpson. Arvada City Council Member Randy Mormon. Arvada City Council Member Sharon Davis. City Council Member Bob Pfeiffer. And City Council Member John Marriott. You guys are doing great, thank you. We also have Jefferson County Commissioner Rachel Zenzinger with us this morning. Also with us is State Representative Lisa Ferre and her adorable daughter, which is my favorite part of when I see her at these. Love that. From the Arvada Fire Board, Jack Major. And from Arvada Fire, Chief Kirk Locke. Did I miss anybody? Okay, it is going to be a good day. That's awesome. We also want to take a moment to thank the incredible sponsors who underwrote this event and made it possible for you all to attend for free and for us to be able to give access online. So for those of you that don't know, we do live stream these events so that this content is accessible to a broader part of our community. So a big thank you today to Kiwanis Arvada Jefferson, Lions International, Arvada and Arvada Sunrise Rotary, and Optimist Club of Lake Arbor. Let's give them a big round of applause. We also want to take a moment to thank Red Silo Coffee. If you had a cup of coffee today, that is courtesy. I need another cup of coffee. That is courtesy of Red Silo. We also want to take a moment to thank our annual sponsors. You can see them scrolling on the screen behind me. There are many businesses in this community that help to ensure the success and connection of this chamber and our community holistically. So let's give them a big round of applause. It is now my pleasure to introduce our incredible moderator today, not a stranger to many of us. Dave Runyon serves as the Executive Director of City Unite, which helps faith, government, and business leaders work together in the Denver metro area. He is the co-author of the book, The Art of Neighboring, and believes that building relationships with our immediate neighbors is a simple and powerful practice. Dave speaks locally and nationally, encouraging leaders to work together to serve the common good. He and his wife, Lauren, have 4 kids and have lived in the metro area for 40 years. He's also a proud Arvada Chamber board member. Please join me in welcoming Dave to the stage.
Good morning. All right, we thanked a lot of people that are already serving. I want to acknowledge what an incredible role it is to serve as a city council person and to even run for this position. City council leaders shape our daily lives and the future of our city, and the commitment that they make, the sacrifices they make, the number of long meetings that they sit through, of unsolicited community feedback that they receive it's profound. And so can we just kind of put our hands together and thank these people that are running for office? I'm going to give you an overview of how this is going to work this morning. We're going to follow a structured format designed to give each candidate equal time and to create an engaging experience for all of you. For each race, both candidates will begin by introducing themselves and taking 1 minute to share why they are running. Following the introductions, we will draw 3 questions at random, and each candidate will have 90 seconds per question to respond. And then we're going to ask each candidate a series of quick-fire questions that are designed to help us just to get to know them personally. And they're going to have 10 or 15 seconds to answer each of those quick-fire questions. I want to ask that everyone refrain from cheering, booing, doing anything that might take away from the time. This is meant to be a place of civil discourse, and we've asked the candidates to focus on themselves, on what they believe in, what they're passionate about, and refrain from talking about their opponents in any way. And so with that, we're going to get started, and it's my pleasure to welcome to the stage the candidates for the at-large seat, Michael Griffith and Denise Vargas. Yes, you can clap for that part, for sure. Welcome. You can each grab a mic there. It should be turned on and ready for you. And Mike, I'd love for you to just start.
Sure, these are narrow seats for anybody that's wondering. They were not built for me.
Take a minute to share with us who you are and why you're running.
Sure. Welcome, everybody. My name is Mike Griffith. I'm running, obviously, for the at-large seat. Who I am, so I'm basically a transportation design engineering person, basically working in several capacities for the city over the last 11 years. And you know, what I'd like to talk about is one of the most important things is why I'm running. So why I'm running and why I'm sitting up here is probably a similar reason to why you're all here today. You're invested in your community. You're invested with your businesses. You're invested with your time. And I am too. So some of the things that I've done for the city over the last 10 years include chairing the Planning Commission, which I've done for about 9 years now. I also sit on the Board of Adjustment, and I also work as on the Old Town BID board. It's definitely one of those things we jump right into here. So a lot of things that you do for your community take up your time, away from your family, away from your kids, away from the other things that you do in your life. And I think it's important to understand that time that you're giving in service to your community means something. It translates into better outcomes for our community members. So I have 3 kids at home. They're all first-generation Arvadans, and they'd probably like Dad to be at home right now or taking them to school instead of having Mom do it all today. So I think it's really important to just show up and be there, and that's a big part of why I'm running. And I think my background and skill set would be very useful for the city of Arvada, and I'm looking forward to putting those skills in service on City Council.
Thanks.
My name is Denise Vargas. Thank you for having me here today. I'm a native of Colorado. I grew up in Lakewood, and I've lived in Arvada for the last 11 years with my husband and my twins, 10-year-olds. I go to Sierra Elementary. And for the past 15 to 16 years, I worked in corrections at the Denver County Jail, and I ran a mental health unit, which is very similar to an inpatient residential unit for mentally ill people, mentally ill offenders. And I did a lot of variety of other things. I also have a small private practice where I treat first responders. So I kind of do both. I work with folks who struggle with serious and persistent mental illness, trauma, substance abuse, and I work with first responders and a lot of other people that deal with relationship issues, substance abuse, trauma. And I feel like those skills enable me to listen, be a good problem solver, and build trust. And I think trust is really valuable and important in what we need in City Council. I think that I see a lot of trust in City Council already. I'd like to be a part of that. So at the heart of my campaign, I talk about the 3 C's: connection, conversation, and community. Connection means bringing people together across differences. Conversations mean being willing to engage in the tough but necessary discussions. And community means keeping Arvada a place where families, businesses, and neighbors thrive together. So I know we have lots of different issues, and being a psychologist, it is all very new to me. And so, like any good psychologist, I had to listen for a handful of times to really start to understand some of the issues that are facing Arvada and what people would like to be done about them. And so it took me a few times of meeting people, and I'm still going to be gathering all that information, and I look forward to hearing about what you would like for Arvada, what you see would benefit Arvada, so that I can help bridge those gaps.
Great. All right, we're going to jump in here, and what we're going to do is randomly pick out questions, 3 different questions. You'll have up to 90 seconds. You don't need to use all of that if you would like to be more concise. Allie's down here, and she'll let you know when the time is counting down, and so will I if you go on and on. So, Mike, we'll start. I'm looking at both of you. All right, so Mike, we'll start with you.
Excellent.
What's your philosophy on land use decisions, particularly when community sentiment and economic development goals are in tension?
Thank you. Great question. So I fully expect that any major land development decision to be in tension with those things. First of all, let's talk about density just for a second. The best way for us to increase our tax base is to increase density anywhere. So that means a 1,000-story building on a very small lot. That'll get us more tax money. Guess who it's going to piss off? The community. So we have to find a balance. Obviously, we can't make millions and trillions of dollars. We don't need that much for our infrastructures, upgrades and needs. So we need to look at exactly what we're going to be doing over the next 10, 20 years from an infrastructure perspective. What do mill and overlay projects look like? How do we fix potholes and traffic signal timing and build new roads if necessary? How much does that cost? And then we look at our residential population and say, all right, does it reflect the jobs that are available in our community? Okay, there's some gaps to fill. There's some affordability problems. So we know we need a certain amount of a certain cost in our neighborhood and in our city, rather, so that we can actually build what's needed. And that will be something we can plug into that tax base equation and see, all right, this is how much money we're going to have estimated based on our population growth, meeting our needs that aren't being fulfilled today, and also filling the coffers so that we can deliver for infrastructure.
Thanks. All right, Denise.
I think somebody said same question.
Oh, same question. Oh, there we go. Thank you. That's what I meant to do.
Could you reread
Round
the question,
one.
please,
You
sir?
bet. What's your philosophy on land use decisions, particularly when community sentiment and economic development goals are in tension?
I think it's important to listen to the community and have a full understanding of what their needs actually are, what their disagreements are with whatever's happening. That being said, I think sometimes we also have to recognize that we may need to grow in a certain direction, and that is not always going to be foresight that every individual has. I think there has to be a balance. There has to be a balance. We have to listen to our community, especially people that have been here for a long time. I think Arvada's so fantastic. Arvada knows what works. And so we do have to consider what the people who are living in Arvada, who have been here for 40, 50 years, what has worked. And I think we need a balance. We have balance in our city. We have farmers, we have business owners, we have city workers, we have people that stay at home, we have people that work in our schools, and so we need just balance all across the board. And so we would need to have those engagements with people.
Thank you. And then, Denise, for this next question, we'll start with you.
Thanks.
So you can just keep talking.
Thank you.
What would be your number one priority in your first year on City Council, and how would you measure success?
Actually did a note on that one. I'm going to reference my note. I think for me, the number one priority is going to be taking a look at the unhoused situation and how it's affecting our small businesses in Old Town Arvada, accessing and assessing current strategies that we may be using, because there may be strategies we're using that are working. We have to figure out what those are. I think that's kind of my wheelhouse, working with people who struggle with mental illness and who struggle with not being housed and like lower socioeconomic struggles, and wanting to consider what is already effective against the expectations of the community, right? So I think the community has the expectation to have like no unhoused folks at all, and I know that cannot always be realistic. And so figuring out what we're already doing that's working, and then adding to that, maybe engaging nonprofits, using a crisis mobile unit, something like that, things that we know work and are effective in other communities, and using them here, since we have in-house people here, no matter what. And I met with the chief of police, and I asked him, what do you think draws the unhoused here? And it's because Arvada is so safe. Oddly enough, they feel like they are less targeted, less traumatized, and so folks who often get traumatized and targeted in Denver will gravitate towards Arvada. So, we can't make Arvada less safe so that they don't come here. That doesn't make sense, right? We want to maintain this sense of safety and the sense of prosperity that Arvada provides for folks. And so engaging that. We have something called CORE, which I didn't know about. I think continuing that mission of CORE would be great.
Cool.
By the way, Community Outreach Resource Enforcement. That's what this stands for.
Thanks. All right. Mike, same question to you. Do you want me to repeat it for you?
No, I think you got it.
Okay.
All right, so key priority, this is something that I think everybody can relate to. Depending on how you got here today, you probably hit more traffic lights than you would have preferred. I know I do every day on my way to work. I drive up Wadsworth and I hit damn near every single one of them. Working in the traffic engineering space, I can tell you that that's not how it's supposed to happen. If you're going the speed limit and you're not in dead stop traffic, you should only hit one red light per corridor. So let's talk about how to fix that. The city of Arvada has very wisely invested in a transportation master plan, which is now complete. And I'm very proud of it because I led the team that actually put it together. And one of the things that we recommended as an early action item that we could do right away is to, instead of timing signals in one location per intersection, we now can do it as a network. There's over 100 intersections in the city of Arvada, and we've mapped all those out in computer and simulated what would be a more idealistic way to time those signals so that we can move around more efficiently. So I would absolutely push with my other 6 council members to make sure that that's a priority for the city to implement. It costs nearly nothing, and we could measure it very easily within a short period of time to see if we've reached the maximum efficiency for a network-wide intervention. And basically what we looked at, we modeled this and we got about a 30% increase in efficiency traveling east-west and north-south. So without actually shoveling anything, without spending millions and millions of dollars on roadway infrastructure improvement, we can improve the way people move about the city and create less greenhouse gas emissions and increase the local air quality.
Great. All right, last question in this round. And Mike, we'll start with you. Have you respond. The City Council often faces passionate debate and community division. How would you promote civility, collaboration, and respectful dialogue, both among council members and within the public at large, especially when addressing contentious issues?
Excellent. So this is something I was hoping we were going to get to discuss. So I would draw on my experience in the last 9 years on Planning Commission. I've been chairing it for about 4 years now, and we see the same projects that City Council sees. So we have a lot of the same audience members that are coming, and they're from different communities. They're upset about a project, or they're upset about some policy change at the city level, and they say, hey, what's going on? This is our city. What are you doing? And I think one of the key things that I try to bring to the Planning Commission meetings that I'd also bring to City Council is making sure that the public is informed on exactly what we're reviewing and what our purview is in those particular situations. I think it's essential that there's a level of clarity between what's happening at local government with these decisions and how it impacts our local businesses and how it impacts our residents. And in addition to that, I know there's at least one other candidate that's going to recommend a reading of the book Crucial Conversations as soon as we go into the seats for City Council. I think that there's a lot of literature, not just that book, that we could talk about that help folks make a safe space for conversations that level the playing field and make it not so much about your argument or my argument, but what is the mutual goal? And so introducing those mindsets to City Council, I think, will put us in a much stronger position to have a very cordial and respectful discussion in front of our members of the public and receive their comments and make sure that they feel heard.
Thanks. Denise?
Well, I'm a psychologist, so I'm all about tough conversations, making people feel comfortable and invited into a space to have really tough conversations that may not always end with people agreeing. And so I think that is my wheelhouse. When I worked in corrections, I would have to engage both officers and offenders and bring them together at times, not to be friends, that's not our goal, but to work collaboratively because the offenders outnumber the uniform staff in a jail, in any correctional environment. And so being able to be that in between, and I like to call myself like a hybrid of those two entities, really enabled my skills to have tough conversations. And there is a way in which you speak, there is a way in which you carry yourself that I think helps people to feel comfortable with you. And I think that that's what psychologists possess. I mean, that's why we get into that field. So I do think that being that bridge maker of opposing sides is what psychologists are good at.
Great. All right, now we're going to dive into some quick fire questions. And Mike, we're going to run through these first with you.
Great.
Our goal here is so that we can kind of learn a little bit of the personal side of some of these candidates as we go through this. So I'd ask you to take 10 seconds max on each of these. Are you ready to roll?
Let's do it.
All right. What's a book that you have read recently that you would recommend to others? And you can't say Crucial Conversations.
That was a freebie. All right. Green Eggs and Ham.
Oh, that's good. That is a good one.
It's a good one. So essentially, getting somebody to try something that they might like, but they haven't tried, and at the end of the story, very compelling, they like it.
All right, cool. If you could spend an hour in the middle of the afternoon at any place in Arvada, where would you go?
I would pick up my daughter from school and take her to Scrumptious in Old Town.
All right. What's one thing people might be surprised to learn about you?
Several times a year, myself and 6 other members of our Dad Bod Car Mod racing team.
Hold on, say that again.
Dad Bod Car Mod.
Okay.
We race at events all over the country. These are full-on professional racetracks, and we're going well over 100 miles an hour for 2.5 hours at a time.
All right. What's a character trait that you have that will help you to thrive as a city council member?
Unflinching empathy. I feel strongly that I understand and seek to understand what others are thinking, especially if they disagree with me.
Great. Finally, if you could wave a magic wand and change something in our community, what would it be?
It would be the removal of the alleged contamination anywhere within our city.
All right. All right, Denise, you ready?
I think so.
All right, here we go. What's a book that you have read recently that you would recommend to others?
So I'm back in school. Nobody wants to read the books I'm reading right now. They're textbooks, and they're terrible.
All right, so you're not giving us a recommendation. You're only reading nerdy stuff. All right.
It's thick and
If you could spend an hour in the middle of the afternoon at any place in Arvada, where would you go?
my backyard, because I live next to 2 ponds.
Oh, there you go. What's one thing people might be surprised to learn about you?
That I did boxing and MMA.
Really?
See?
All
Did you hear
right,
that?
I am surprised.
Oh, you're a psychologist and you're grappling with
Yes.
people. Yes, and I won.
There we go. What's a character trait that you have that will help you to thrive as a city council member?
Integrity. I do the right thing when people aren't looking.
Great. If you could wave a magic wand and change something in our community, what would it be?
More middle school. It bothers me every time I drive by it and I see it's empty.
All right. Would you all please thank Mike and Denise for coming up and sharing with us? Thank you. There you go. Yeah, if you drink out of it, please take that out of here. And actually, we might put these on the ground just so they're not in the way of the camera. All right. Would you now join me in please welcoming the candidates for District Seat 1, Randy Moorman and Eric Bodenstab. Just have you hold that the whole time so it doesn't make noise on the table. Eric and Randy, welcome. If you'll hold that off the table the whole time, that'd be great, Eric. All right. Eric, let's start with you. Take a minute to tell us who you are and why you're running.
Okay, yeah, my name is Eric Bodenstab. I've lived in Arvada since 2018, about 3 weeks before my younger son was born. And we live in the Lake Arbor area, which is in the far east part of District 1. I'm no stranger to jumping in races. However, I've always kind of been in non-competitive races, including last year for county commissioner. You know, I decided to run for, I thought about it for a while. I also had put my name in the hat for the open seat when Lisa moved up to the state legislature last year. And I was interested at that point in the city council. And 17 people put their name in the hat. and I assumed that there were maybe a few other people from District 1. I assumed that one of them would probably put their name in again for this race right now, and no one had by August. So I didn't want Randy to run unopposed. I think he's a fine man, and I know what kind of council member he is. So I didn't have any real issue with anything in particular with him. So it was more about kind of what I wanted to do and what I wanted to see out of our community. And I know competitive races are the lifeblood of democracy, and I felt really strongly about that. So I jumped in.
Great. Randy, take a minute to tell us who you are and why you're running again.
Thank you, Dave, and thank you to the Chamber for having this forum today, and thank you all for being here. And Eric and all the other candidates, it's a big sacrifice to put yourself out there and run, and so I really appreciate that. I'm Randy Moorman. I'm running for re-election in District 1, and 4 years ago I ran and stood before you all here talking about how much I love my community and wanting to give back. My husband had a stroke in 2017, and the community was just so supportive. And so it really meant a lot to me to think about what I could do for my community that was just there for us. While on council, I've had an amazing opportunity to meet people, residents from Lake Arbor and some of the neighbors of Eric's, and all the way to Davis Lane Park, which is newer in my district. And it's just been a really awesome experience to work with those neighbors and talk about what difference we can make in our neighborhoods now. And we've had some successes. We've been able to make some of our streets safer, putting up some crosswalks and flashing beacons, and reopening the Lake Arbor pool, and even filling some potholes. So I'm excited about what we've been able to accomplish, and I'm looking forward to the next 4 years. And my priorities are going to be focused on investing in our roads and sidewalks and making our city more accessible, improving our bike paths and lanes, and creating greater access to affordable housing for our workers, for our new families, and for our seniors, and then making our community more resilient and economically viable in a future of an ever-changing climate. So we need to continue to be thinking forward in how we can do that. So I'm recommitting to the community with my re-election that I want to continue to work tirelessly for our neighborhoods to make Arvada a better place, and I really believe in community and the power of what we can do together.
Great. All right, we're going to hop in. I'm going to pull out 3 questions, and Eric, we'll have you start with the first one by responding to the first one. What policies would you advocate for that support both small and large employers in Arvada?
Gotcha. Definitely some sorts of tax credits wherever possible. What we can do to encourage new businesses to come in the downtown area, whether it's land or other sort of stimulations, economic stimulus that would certainly allow new businesses to come and compete here. We are largely a residential community, so we do need to balance that out with the available land we have left. My understanding is about 600 acres that are within the city that are undeveloped yet, and some of it's not in the best condition. And we have to give property owners the right in order to develop their land however they see fit. It may lead to a difficult situation with neighboring residents, but we do need the best possible outcome with that as well, and that's the role of the city council is to plan and help administer a new business, even possibly a new park, whatever may come into the fold.
Thanks. Randy.
Well, when I've been visiting our businesses, especially in District 1, I think of like La Patisserie Francaise and the Butchery, and one of my favorite nonprofits is Animal Assisted Therapy of Colorado. And I listen to them and hear some of the challenges they're facing right now, and one of the biggest is attracting and keeping really good, valuable employees. And that one of the biggest challenges or barriers for them is finding housing here in Arvada. 82% of our workforce in Arvada doesn't live here because they can't afford to. And so that puts a strain on our infrastructure, all that additional traffic and commuting. And it also puts a strain on those individuals that have to take that extra time to get to work and to get home and to be with their families. So I think it's really important that we focus on how do we continue to create more options for housing for our workers. And I think there's a lot of strategies that we need to be looking at and doing more on, thinking about land banking, thinking about preserving our existing affordable housing, thinking about those incentives that we can do to attract that missing middle that first-time home buyers need.
All right. This time, Randy, we're going to start with you. All right. What role should the city play in addressing homelessness? How would you balance compassion with public safety and community concerns?
So this is something I've given a lot of thought about and have had a lot of great conversation with many of you in the room. One thing that I want us to start building off of is our successes. Since January, we've housed around 80 individuals in suburban studios with our great 2 housing navigators. They're providing wraparound social services to help those individuals get to permanent housing. And we now have, just in the short amount of time, a somewhere between 70 and 75% success rate of those individuals now that are in permanent housing. And so that, I think, is one of the best programs we've got in the Denver metro area right now, is what I hear is based on that rate. So I think let's build on that success, and let's also collaborate and work with our partners. And so I'm also very excited, and something that I've been involved with our county commissioners and our fellow municipalities is, how do we address this regionally? It is a regional problem. And so how can we work collaboratively? And so one of the exciting things that we just did as a city and our other cities and partners is sign an intergovernmental agreement to address severe weather sheltering coming this winter, which is something so urgently needed. It's not something we don't want to continue to have to scramble year after year and figure out what we're going to do to get people housed in the coldest of nights and make sure that no one dies on our streets. So I'm very excited that we've set up that IGA, and we'll be starting that with the voucher program this winter, and I look forward to building off of that partnership for more longer-term solutions.
Great. Eric, do you want the question again, or you got it?
Yeah, go ahead and repeat it.
You bet. What role should the city play in addressing homelessness, and how would you balance compassion with public safety and community concerns?
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm going to answer the last question on the speed round, which is one thing you could change. If I could snap my fingers and homelessness could just disappear, not just here in Arvada, but in San Diego where I grew up, or in downtown Denver, that would be it. It's such a complicated problem, and I applaud the efforts that Randy and other members of council have done to try to solve it. It's I use this example actually at the fire board, but I ran for that actually back in May, and the example. One thing you might not know about me as well too, to answer that question, is I came here to study Tibetan Buddhism of all things, even though I work as an engineer now. And the image for compassion and that so that people can hold what it's like, is the image of compassion is a mother watching her baby drown in a river, and she doesn't have any arms. So I think that's about how we feel about homelessness. We see it, and there's literally nothing that we feel we can do, and it's a very difficult situation personally for us to feel. And I've made it a top issue of mine running, because I think it's a problem that we still want to address, and we may look for other ways to address it, so that we're not seeing the criminality that comes along with it as much. That's the troublesome part, and that affects businesses. So I don't have a good answer is my answer, but it will be a top priority.
Cool. All right, last question, and Eric, we'll start with you. Where do you see opportunities for efficiency or innovation in city government operations?
Ooh, great one. I'm glad you asked this. And actually, most of it's on the electoral side. I ran last year, and I'm running a little less on this year on the idea of proportional representation. While this is a nonpartisan race, I think, to some degree, it is 100% a Democratic Party race. I'm kind of a sort of a member of it now. However, I've been a third-party candidate for most of the times I've been a candidate, And I think battling the two-party gridlock is a chief political goal of mine at any level, national, state, local. And I'd love to see that system where you get 27% of the seats for 27% of the vote be enacted. However, residents not being heard is even a more challenging one. And I'm only a novice in understanding about citizens' assemblies, where citizens actually gather, maybe in a room like this, get educated on a particular topic, and then really debate and talk about the issues amongst each other. They get a taste of what it's like to be an elected official. They're chosen at random, and they can decide. Difficult land use questions are actually where it functions best. So it would be good to see the city try to enact, something of that nature. And I believe I'm the only one talking about this issue right now, and it might be that way for a while. But I'm really open-minded to just, innovative ways to solve maybe electoral problems, if not technical problems, once on council.
Thanks. Randy, how about you?
I think when I'm talking to residents, and I'm always working hard to think about how can I make myself more available and hear from residents, and so I have coffee chats on a monthly basis, and I put out a newsletter, and but I'm always thinking, how can we make ourselves more accessible, and most importantly, how can we engage our residents more in what we do as a city? Because the differences, the different things that we can make are at the city level that really impact our quality of life. And so I think about how can we engage the public more in everything that we do. And I think there's always room for improvement, and one of the opportunities that we have coming up is updating our comprehensive plan. And this is our guiding document for the vision of the city. And what more crucial place can it be for us to have the community involved in that process, down to the neighborhood level, sharing with us what are their values at their neighborhood level, and for local businesses to be part of that conversation. And so that needs to be a process that is transparent, we're clear about the purpose, we're authentic, using the input that we actually are requesting for, and then appropriate, and that we're engaging the way that really gets results. So I'm really excited about how do we create that system for that greater public engagement for the vision of our city in the future.
Thanks. All right, Eric, we're going to start with you on the rapid fire questions. You ready?
I'm not going to have a good answer for the book.
That's all right. Well, I mean, what's a book that you've read recently that you'd recommend to others? Or a podcast, if you would like to recommend a podcast, feel free. No, neither one of those two. All right. I was trying to give you an out.
I'll post it on my website.
All right, TBD.
I'm an engineer. I guess I like math, but
I don't want to. We don't want to hear about any math books. If you could spend an hour in the middle of the afternoon at any place in Arvada, where would you go?
I'll have to follow Mike on that one. Picking kids up from school is a great thing. I actually managed to drop my little guy off at Betty Adams, which is not in Arvada this morning, but it's always special to be able to do that.
Yeah. What's one thing people might be surprised to learn about you?
Well, I mentioned I came out here to study Tibetan Buddhism. I'm also an Eagle Scout, and I participate in that still with my younger ones. We were out just this last weekend up at Camp Patia, which is west of Boulder, and with my older one, who still wants to do it. He's so involved with soccer and everything. Youth soccer is a huge part of our life, too.
Cool. What's a character trait that you have that will help you thrive as a city council member?
I think I am generally a pretty kind and caring person, so.
Yeah, we could all use some more of that. If you could wave a magic wand and change something in our community, what would it be?
I mentioned homelessness before. Obviously, I'd like to see that reduced as much as possible in success stories. But actually, I would really like to challenge metro districts because just the tax base there ends up putting too much money in developers' hands and taking it away from schools.
Thanks. All right, Randy, here we go. What's a book that you've read recently that you'd recommend to others?
Well, I've just started reading Abundance by Ezra Klein and Derek Thompson, and I really appreciate how it's challenging the policies that have, over the years since the 50s, for example, thinking about housing policy, that have an intention for good and have all these negative consequences, and just really creating this thought of, what if we, instead of always treating everything as a scarcity and that creates the conflict, what if we really created with technology and innovation abundance, what kind of society we would have? So I really am excited about finishing that.
Yep, it's a great read. If you could spend an hour in the middle of the afternoon at any place in Arvada, where would you go?
I just love to go explore our parks that I've never been. Just recently, it's not in District 1, but I was just at Quaker Acres, and it's just a beautiful park with a beautiful view around it. And we've got so many of those gems yet to be discovered. So some people have, I know Commissioner Zenzinger she pulls out a community out of a box or out of a hat to go visit. I want to do it with our parks and go visit each one of our parks and make sure that I get to experience them.
What's one thing people might be surprised to learn about you?
Well, I don't think, some people this is not a surprise, but I'm a pretty mean baker. And I am pretty proud of the fact that I entered my first contest with my chocolate pumpkin pie a couple weeks ago at the Harvest Festival, and I got first place.
All right, there you go. What's a character trait that you have that will help you thrive as a city council member?
I really try to look for good in everybody and look for what good we can do. I was raised United Methodist, and the founder of Methodism said, do all the good you can in all the ways you can. And so that's really my moral compass, and so I continue to try to do that every day.
If you could wave a magic wand and change something in our community, what would it be?
Well, Eric mentioned homelessness, and I definitely think that's the one we need some magic in right now. But I would change it a little bit and say, have an affordable home for everyone so that no one is unhoused.
Thank you. All right, would you please thank Randy and Eric for their time up here?
Thank you.
All right. Now, if you would join me in welcoming up Rebecca Levison, and we're going to have a little bit of an interview here instead of a panel. Aaron Scoff had a family emergency, so he's not able to join us today. And so we're going to come up here and work through the same structure with Rebecca. Welcome. Hello. All right. Rebecca, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to run for city council.
Perfect. My name is Rebecca. That's with a CK, Lovison. I am running for Arvada City Council, District 3. And where I grew up, we biked the streets and we caught frogs in the creek, and I am running because I want my daughter and the next generation to be able to do that same thing, to play in our creeks, bike in the streets, and for all of us to grow in safe neighborhoods with stable housing and strong schools. So I've made being an Arvadan my career. Everything I do is Arvada. I work over at the Arvada Center and beekeep over at the Arvada Community Garden. I led the Festivals Commission. I adore the work I do with the Arvada Historical Society, and I'm also part of the Arvada Jefferson Kiwanis and the League of Women Voters. And as I wrote this, I realized, wow, there's a lot of Arvada there. Additionally, I've got over 20 years of experience in the service and event industry, which means I can stay calm under chaos, and I am a problem solver, a cultivator of collaboration. I bring passion to everything I do. So I am really excited to be serving you, your family, and our Arvada community.
Great. We're going to have you answer the two questions we haven't received yet, and then we'll pick one more. Many workers, including teachers, first responders, and service industry employees, report that their wages are not keeping pace with rising housing costs. What strategies would you pursue to ensure that housing options in Arvada are better aligned with the incomes of our local workforce?
Yes, as Randy previously mentioned as well, the folks that live here don't work here, or most of them don't, and the folks that work here don't live here. So one thing I would like to see is mixed-use zoning. I think it creates a smoother way to grow, and it allows opportunities for maybe your florist in the neighborhood, so you can work, play, and live in the same place. I think providing the infrastructure for better housing, or housing for a variety of income levels. And we hear a lot about different things, YIMBY, NIMBY, SIMBY, and I think that in a lot of ways they are all correct. In one area of Arvada, what is right is not what's right for a different area of Arvada. So I think having those complicated conversations and holding space for conflicting views is really, really key.
Great. How should Arvada balance development and growth with open space, transportation, and infrastructure needs?
Alrighty, so Arvada has like the number 5 worst roads, and so we're still doing better than the Rockies, but I think one area to start is with our roads. That is what I hear the most at doors. Another area is when I'm walking down the sidewalk with my daughter, you can't quite get your stroller on the sidewalk. They're really small, which means now that she's on a tricycle, it's a little bit harder as well. And we're trying to get from our home to our park. So I think one area is focusing on the streets, the sidewalks, and then everything in between and everything attached to those. Another thing is when you buy your home, maybe you buy your dishwasher and your the other appliances, your refrigerator, all at the same time, and then you're like, why are these all failing all at the same time? It's like, oh, well, it hit that 30-year mark. Arvada is in a similar situation with some of our infrastructure. So to me, that is the priority. Let's make sure the stuff that affects us day to day is the priority and taken care of before welcoming the new and creative ideas we have here.
Great. All right, and we'll take one here out of the bowl. What is your philosophy on land use decisions, particularly when community sentiment and economic development goals are in tension?
We have a huge opportunity I'm really excited about, and that is we are going to be refreshing the comprehensive plan. So those of you that don't know, the comprehensive plan is the vision of Arvada, and the land development code is the rules, and the charter is like the rules of the rules. And we're refreshing all that now for the next 10 years. We're also looking at how we're going to spend money for the next 10 years. So this is an amazing opportunity to really find out what our community would like to see. And I think including community engagement in the comprehensive plan, not just a box to check on the plan, but really diving deep, asking the experts, how do we not only hear from our residents, but hear from a variety of residents and then follow through with what we're hearing. Additionally, I was walking around Stanley Lake with my parents one time, and we have very different views. And I discovered something amazing on that walk, and that was when you take a moment to think, what do we agree on? And then maybe you just push aside what you don't, or not talking about that as much, then you can really discover some amazing things. So those conversations, that's what that taught me.
Cool. All right, you ready for the fast fire questions?
Yes, very
All
excited.
right, here we go. What's a book that you've read recently that you would recommend to others?
Okay, I was very excited about this. So first of all, I'm collecting all of the books from the Arvada Historical Society. They've written some really amazing history books on Arvada. But any book by the author R.F. Kuang, total book nerd, so this is a very difficult question. But at the beginning of September, I took a little break from door knocking to actually go to a book signing. So she's got this book, Catabasis, and then The Poppy Wars are also great. And it's historical fiction, which can teach you a lot and transport you to a different place. So thanks for asking that question.
Cool. If you could spend an hour in the middle of the afternoon at any place in Arvada, where would you go?
Okay, hear me out on this, but I would love to spend time in the basement of the Arvada Center. And here's why. So the Arvada Historical Society and the Arvada Center were both created by a gal, Lois Lindstrom, and right now they're being created, they're kind of separating into their own space. So the basement of the Arvada Center has some of the most amazing artifacts that we have as a city. There's a gentleman, Craig Haggett, who was actually down in the basement last time I was working there, and I was really bummed I couldn't go join. Just all the things, the material of our history. And if possible, I would like to take Mark McGough with me so he can tell me some stories about this stuff too.
That would be smart. What's one thing people might be surprised to learn about you?
I am a certified yoga teacher, and my two favorite ways of teaching yoga would be chair yoga for aging adults or those in an office, and family or kids yoga, because I think you can get really creative. And after this, I will probably do some yoga, so we can come hang out, breathe deeply, and chat about the city.
Yeah. What's a character trait that you have that will help you thrive as a city council member?
Reliability. That is one of my core values, and I believe in this role, following through, following up. The main thing I think a lot of residents want is if they call, if they text, you're going to follow up with them, even if it's a couple days. I've got a toddler, so a little harmony of time there, but the follow through. And I think another huge part of reliability is knowing when to say no. Because you can't be reliable if you're saying yes to everything. You have to know the opportunity cost of your time, of the city budget, and yeah.
Cool. All right, if you could wave a magic wand and change something in our community, what would it be?
Better infrastructure for Arvadans on wheels. Again, mentioned the sidewalks, and there's been more than one time where I've biked from City Hall over to my house, and I get kind of lost on the Ralston Creek Trail between 59th and Ralston. And I believe in a lot of ways, if it is bike friendly, that means it's going to be stroller friendly. It's going to be wheelchair friendly. And I think the other one, just personally, I would love to see changing tables in every family-friendly establishment, and especially in the men's room, because if it's dad's turn to change the diaper, it'd be cool if he wasn't like, oh, sorry, they didn't have one in here. So that's just a personal.
Yeah, it sounds like you have some PTSD stuff going on there. All right, Rebecca, thank you very much for joining us. Please give her a hand. And I just want to thank all the candidates for coming out and doing this. Cammie, if you want to come up and join us. I just want to encourage everyone, I think the general public has a very limited understanding of how important these roles are and how much they make a difference. And I think right now with all of the dysfunction that we see at certain levels, of the government and all of the fighting and the lack of progress because of just a lot of toxic behavior, people get disillusioned with that and they kind of lump some of this in with it. This is the good stuff. I've been able to have line of sight into a lot of different levels of government, and I really believe the lower you go, the better it gets. And I just want to encourage you to talk to your neighbors, talk to your coworkers. Hell, if you're sitting in this room, you probably know how important these roles are and the things that they are deciding and how it actually impacts your daily life. I just want to encourage you to talk to the people that you're around on a regular basis. Help them to understand that the people who will be serving in these roles will make a difference. And that when we get the right people serving, we can actually kind of restore some hope in government and especially in local government. So that'd be my main encouragement to you. There you go, Cammie.
A big round of applause. Thank you, Dave. Incredible. Thank you for moderating for us today. We appreciate it so much. Also, another big thank you and congratulations and all of our gratitude to the candidates. Dave said it so well at the beginning of this. It is a huge commitment of time, treasure, and talent, and we are so grateful for that commitment to this community. So let's give a big, big round of applause for all of our candidates. As we close out today, I just want to give you a couple updates of things that might be of interest to those in the room. On October 9th, we are hosting a Board of Education forum at Chamber offices. So if you haven't registered for that yet, please do so. Again, another important conversation for all of us in our community. If our schools are thriving, our community is thriving. So please join us for that. We will be publishing a voter guide after October 9th's forum to give you all of the information about all of the candidates in one place. This is a popular tool that we've been doing for a few years here at the Chamber, so we'll make sure that all of you get a copy of that as well. And then on October 17th, right here, we're going to be doing State of the Region. Mayor Simpson and her fellow mayors from the communities around us, along with Commissioner Zenzinger, will be joining us for a really robust conversation about what's going on regionally. So we look forward to that. And then finally, I'll invite you to stay connected. I know we have some new faces with us today, which is always exciting. So there are a lot of ways to stay connected to what the Chamber is doing, whether it's joining a network, following us on social media. Those are all great things. And then I'll offer to you, I said it at the beginning, but we are recording today's event. So if you know somebody that wasn't able to make it, or you're willing to share that recording with your network, as Dave said, this is really important, and we appreciate all of you helping to share the message about the importance of our local elections. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.